Okay guys, so it's time for a new build. And first of all, I'd like to thank Andy at Shendrones, Andy Shen, for giving me a very nice price on this Mako. I guess that's how we call it. Mako frame, which is an X-frame racing frame with a 3D printed lid, or yeah, cover, or whatever you want to call it. So let's get started. Andy is a really nice guy, has excellent customer service. He actually printed this in the red color because he didn't have anyone in stock, so he printed one for me himself, so that's very nice. Like I said, he's really quick on the emails, and I really recommend his frames. Really nice quality. So not many parts to this frame. You have the sticker, of course, which is of course a really nice piece. Nice art. And then we have some screws, 3mm, and then there are some screws for the cover itself with a couple of nuts. The cover is printed in what's called TPU, and that's flexible material, and that makes this thing nearly indestructible. And the print is really nice. It's got a very nice texture, and the edges are really nice. So very good job on the print. And this cover is supposed to hold a VTX right in here. The cutout for the camera is for a 2.1 lens, and as always I'm going to use the HS1177, and the camera fits in here, and there is screw holes for the side of the camera itself right there. Should be good. I'm going to use my trusty old RCX 2205 2633 kV motors. They have been they're not the most powerful, but on a light frame I think they produce more than enough thrust for my style of flying and my type of racing. So I'm going to fly with them until they break and then buy something else. I'm going to try the DYS XM20s. I have opened these and added liquid tape to them because we fly in the winter time as well, and it's nice to have something watertight. I just added some double-sided tape. Also, I've added or removed the connector and just added some heat shrink to the points here, and I'll show you later why. The frame is, as always, very nice quality. Matte finish. It's 4mm thick, and the only thing that I think might create a problem, I'm not sure, but we'll see, is that it's not that much material here, right here. Let's see, here's fine, lots of material, no problems here, but if you see right here, could be a little bit close here as well. These are the cutouts for the Velcro straps right here. So we'll see. And for the flight controller, I'll be using a clone F3 card from Banggood. I've been using these, they are very cheap, and they've been very good. Had no problems with these. running these on 4 kilohertz, and they're really nice. So what I've done here is I've added pins for ground and pins for signal. That way I can get away from not soldering directly, because I don't like that, because if you want to swap something, it's so much easier to just pull a pin out than starting soldering in here. So I also added a buzzer, and since I fly Spectrum, I've added the Spectrum racing serial receiver as well. Very nice receiver. On the bottom, I've added the 5 volt input from the PDB. So that's the flight controller, and also I'm going to try the Red Rotor OSD PDB board, which I'm also added the liquid tape on. This is on the back, and this is in the front. So this goes to the VTX, and this goes to the camera, and this is the 5 volt out. That goes to the flight controller as well. All the speed controllers gets their power from this one side, and they will be soldered on. That's it. The video transmitter will be the FX796T, which is more or less the only receiver that will fit right here in the cover. You can see you have access to the button where you change the modes and channel as well. So that's nice. So this will just be pushed on here and attached up here in the cover in the back. That's it for the parts. I'm gonna start as always with filing down the carbon, and when you do that, it's smart to add or put on some gloves to protect your skin from the loose carbon. So gloves, plastic gloves are coming on. There we go, perfect. Now the water to gather up the carbon dust, and I'm going to pull out my files, needle files. Going to wet it up, add some water to the frame. I mean, these edges are not really sharp, but I like to do them anyhow, just a small precaution. Protects the frame and all the wires. If you have any wires that come out of the through the carbon, like the Velcro straps, it's a good idea to file down the edges here, and your straps will last a lot longer. So I'll do that and get back when we get finished with that. So I finished sanding down the carbon. Nice smooth edges, and you shouldn't have any problems with the chafing of wires and stuff. So what I'm going to do is start mounting the motors to the frame, and I've opened the bag of the provided screws. So it's a good idea to check if the screws will protrude just the right amount of distance. You don't want the screw to touch the windings of the motor, so it's always a good idea to check, and this looks to be just right. So I'll go ahead and start mounting the motors. I always use 2 screws on my motors. I don't see a need for 4 screws. I haven't had any problems with that so far anyway, so And I like to use just a little bit of Loctite on the screws as well. So I'm just gonna have a drop of Loctite right there on the bag. This is the blue medium type Loctite, not the red or green. That would be a bad idea, because you wouldn't get your motors off if you had a problem. So just make sure your motors are centered. And I like to use the holes that are on the outer edges. That will give the most stable install. So just lightly touch the first screw and add another screw, just a small amount of Loctite, and make sure you have the motor centered on the hole in the middle there, so your C-clip is not touching the carbon. And this looks really nice, so you can tighten it down. With the Loctite you don't have to go crazy with the tightening, you just have to make sure it's nice and firm in there. And that's real quick, so I'll go ahead and do that for the other three motors. Okay guys, so I've touched the four motors. I realized that since I have the red rotor OSD PDB with the solder points for the motors on the right side, I had to extend two of the wires on one of the ESCs. Okay, so if you have a normal PDB, that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, just for information there. I also added liquid tape to the bottom of the plate just as an extra safety thing, you know, just in case something goes wrong, you never know. So the next thing I recommend doing is adding the battery straps. Might be a little bit fiddly later on, especially the front one where the PDB and the flight controller goes as well. So this goes through on this side. This way. Actually, seems like the slot is a bit narrow for my battery straps. So either I'm gonna have to pull them through like this. Guess it's okay. And then through on the other side. There we go. So I managed to pull the strap through the holes. Looks alright, so I'm glad I did the file down the carbon now, because it would be some serious chafing going on if I hadn't, so that's probably a good idea for the rest of you guys. So now comes the installation of the PDB. There are no standoffs included in the kit, but I have bought these sets off eBay from, I don't know, maybe like $5 from China. So these are nice to have lying around just in case. They have all kinds of different types of standoffs and plastic screws and nuts. So this is a nice kit. Recommend getting a couple of those. Okay, back again. This time with some even longer screws. Let's see if they will work out. It should be okay on these ones. These screws don't have to be plastic, but I feel like them being plastic adds a little bit of isolation as well. So that's perfect right there. Okay, so I'm gonna add the other ones. Okay, so the 4 standoff screws are in with a nut, and then goes the PDB right there. Looks nice. Nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and solder up all the wires now, and see how that looks like. Alright, so what I've done now, I've soldered all the plus and the minus power leads from the ESCs to the PDB. I've added the XT60. There will be a nylon wrap, tie wrap around here to secure the wire to the frame. And there will be some slack here for different lengths of battery wire. And that's pretty much it. I think I can attach the flight controller now, actually, which will go in what direction? I think it's this direction. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, on the right side, I think. Yeah, should be fine right here. So before I do that, I'm gonna add the plus 5 volts. Goes below the flight controller like that. And I have a cutout for the USB here, also on here's this side. So that shouldn't be a problem. The spectrum receiver is going to sit on top. And the buzzer is going to be back here somewhere, I guess. It's going to be quite tight, but it should be okay. But as always, before you ever do something like that, you wanna test your PDB. So we're ready to test the PDB. I've attached my smoke stopper here, and I've got my trusty voltmeter out. So we'll see. Ooh, no smoke. Let's check our voltages here, make sure they're right. That's battery voltage, that's good. That looks nice. Alright, so we're good to go. The power 5 volts. Make sure it's the correct polarity. There we go. Remove that one. Make sure all the cables in the right place. There we go, on the inside, like that. Looks good. I know the latest thing right now is to add some rubber dampening to your flight controller. I do have room for that if I want to try that later on, but right now I'm just going to test it the way it is. So this one goes to the camera, this one goes to the VTX, this is the buzzer, this one goes to the receiver. So we are getting closer to completion. Do that, and I'll be back. So all the nuts are in place. Just a quick tip. These nuts tends to sometimes to run loose, so I like to add just a little bit of hot glue on the tip there, just to secure them. Make sure that that loosen up. Just a little tip. There you go. Now we can actually attach the ESC wires. So on this side you have the grounds. Just going to use some pliers here to make sure to slide in. Without soldering anything, which I like. So here we go, nice and tight. Now I can clean up the wires somewhat. And I'm gonna just zip tie them together here in the back probably. So I went ahead and actually finished the build. And this is what I ended up with for a setup. Inside here you can see where I have the camera, the receiver, and the VTX. And actually the VTX I initially had was the FX796, and it actually burned up on me. So I had to use a spare one, FT952, bought at the Hobby King, and that has been working good as for now. So I will be returning this one, and hopefully I'll get a replacement. Anyhow, I've tried to make the stack as low as possible. I probably could have gone with a few millimeters shorter standoffs, but seems to be alright. It's a tight fit under here, but it seems to squeeze in, and yeah. So there are some nuts in here that goes in the front and in the back, and on the sides there are just some screws into the plastic, and that just holds it in place, just for guidance. And that's about it. I'm gonna put it all together, and I'm gonna put it on the scales, and we'll see how much she weighs. So let's recap. There you go. It's together somehow. It's quite tight, especially up in here where all the wires are, and but it fits. And I wish, if I could wish for something, that there was nuts in the sides as well, same as in the front and back, on the inside, to attach the canopy. That will make for a bit more solid attachment. I mean, it's stuck, but just a personal thing. Also, I wouldn't mind if it were a little bit taller in this area. I don't think it matters much if you add maybe 3 or 4 millimeters to the height here, but that's just me. Everything fits, and I gotta tell you, it's one quick quad. It's extremely aerodynamic, and it moves through the air like butter. It's really nice. On 4 kilohertz, Betaflight 2.8.1, 14.4 on the BL Heli, And these RCX motors are plenty of power. For me anyhow. So let's check out how much this thing weighs. Without the batteries, all ready to fly. Let's see if we can get it on the piece here. So, there we go. Let's say 315 grams. 315 grams. And that's everything included. Props as well. 312. And with the battery, with a 1300 4S battery, it's 457. Not too bad. Not too bad. So, next up will be a DVR video, I guess, of the maiden flight, or one of the maiden flights, and you can see for yourself. Thank you, and as always, please subscribe, and if you enjoy these videos, click like. Thank you.